What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the Sixers Digest YouTube channel. My name is Sean Barnard. As always, I'm recording this a little before the Sixers tip off the third preseason game against the Brooklyn Nets, and I want to talk about why I'm a little bit concerned about the status of Joel Embiid in this video. Embiid has now been ruled out for the third consecutive preseason game. We are under 2 weeks to the regular season starts, around 10 days at this point in time, and he needs to begin ramping things up. So I want to dive into a little bit about why I think the events leading up to him being ruled out today were a little strange, and just the overall outlook on his injuries from here. Now, before I do that, I do want to officially make sure that you guys are subscribing to the YouTube channel here. As of now, 84.6% of you guys watching this video have not subscribed just yet. As I mentioned, the Sixers season is right here upon us. I can't wait to dive into things from start to finish, and I want each and every one of you along for the ride. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and ringing that bell so you're not missing out on any content here. And let's get into the story of today, that Joel Embiid will not be playing in the Sixers preseason game tonight. ESPN's Tim Bontemps tweets out that no Joel Embiid or Furkan Korkmaz, in addition to James Harden tonight against the Nets in Brooklyn. In a vacuum, I'm not concerned. It is preseason, no big deal, whatever. But why I do think this is a little strange is Joel Embiid, as I mentioned, this is the third preseason game that he will be sitting out. And why this game is especially strange is as of yesterday, Nick Nurse was speaking to reporters. Shout out to Austin Krell from 97.3 ESPN here. Austin Krell tweets, Nick Nurse expects Joel Embiid to play in tomorrow's preseason game in Brooklyn. Hopefully James Harden plays in the last preseason game versus Atlanta. So we know that James Harden had his moment when he was discussing with the media. I broke that down in the James Harden Speaks video on this channel, where he talked about probably the last preseason game would be his target for his ramp-up process, you know. That it's all this huge surprise that an NBA season is coming upon us. We got to make sure we ramp up at that point in time. But for Joel Embiid, why are you not playing here? What is the exact reason? We have yet to see any sort of injury diagnosis. By all accounts, he is healthy, but I would like to see it. That for Joel Embiid specifically, he's not a guy who notoriously finds himself in shape. That it feels like the cycle of Joel Embiid year in and year out is he doesn't really care about preseason. He looks rusty for the first couple games, and the Sixers start slow. Let's stop that cycle. Let's make some changes to make that not the case. And it does not look like these Sixers are on that path this year. Now, I think it's especially strange and especially concerning in this given situation is the overhanging load management conversations across the NBA. We know this has become a bigger and bigger talking point amongst NBA circles. The NBA specifically has addressed it this offseason, speaking about how they're going to put a stop to it, that it is not going to be this ongoing issue as it has been over the past few years, and Joel Embiid is one of those guys that it impacts. Nick Nurse has gone out and talked about how the goal is for Joel Embiid to play more basketball this year, that they want him on the court even more. They're not concerned about the load management, the injury risk, none of these things, that the expectation is Joel Embiid will play more. I'll start by saying I right away think that's a bad idea, that I think Joel Embiid is one of the unique characters that fit the description of making sure his health is the priority. That there just are not that many human beings who are 7'2", move the way that he moves, and carry the inherent risks because of that. Basketball is a hard sport on bodies when it comes to cutting on your knees, having foot injuries, all these things. For the most part, Joel's been much healthier than people would like to give him credit. And to dive into things for how many games he has exactly played, I mean, you look down the list at each of these seasons. 66 games last year, 68 games the year before, 51, 51, 64, 63, and then 31 in his rookie season. Those are fine numbers for an NBA superstar. Playing mid-60s is about the going rate nowadays. And I understand that it is a different outlook this year with load management, but for me, this is all the more reason why you should be getting him reps in the preseason and making sure he's up to speed. And this is especially of importance when you factor in with Nick Nurse, with the new coach, with all this new ball movement. I've personally been very impressed by the things that I've seen on the court, just in a way of a different defensive identity. There's more movement offensively. There's a different way in which they are playing basketball. It looks more team-oriented. The ball is moving way more. There's way more just movement as a whole. Those are things that Joel Embiid needs to play through the growing pains and figure out how to fit into that system. That we're all very excited about this new system that Nick Nurse has, but if your star player is not up to speed on how things go, it simply is not going to work in the same way. So it's very confusing to me why we don't have a specific reason why he's not playing this game, and why the outlook, it seems to just be brushed under the rug. What changed between yesterday and today that Joel Embiid, the expectation was he would play, and all of a sudden now he is not? Now, could it be nothing? Absolutely. That's definitely the most likely situation. Maybe he just wants to tune in and check out the Phillies game. We know that he was there, and I get it. That is the talk of Philadelphia. Maybe he just wants to hang out and watch the Phils. That is very much a possibility. But the bottom line is you got to do your job, man. You got to show up, you got to take care of business, and you have to lead this team. That for all the talks about James Harden And it is unfair to throw this fully on Joel Embiid. He's obviously had to deal with so much more than so many people when you factor in that this has happened with Ben Simmons. We've seen him sit through a ton of general manager turnover, front office turnover, roster turnover, stars being unhappy, Jimmy Butler coming in and out. There's a ton of factors that Joel Embiid has had to deal with. But as we're kind of at this turning point in his career, as he's now elevated to that MVP caliber player, he is this league superstar. I want to see you grow in a way that is as a leader. That with all this uncertainty in the Sixers organization, I want you to take that on, Joel Embiid, and say, I am leading the charge, I'm taking the reins, I'm making this my organization, and I'm proving that. I know I'm not saying that he's not doing that by not playing the first 3 preseason games. The jury is still very much out on this for how the season will go, but it's not the best signs that he thinks starting out and it just being this lackadaisical approach of who cares if he suits up or not, both from Joel's perspective and the Sixers' perspective, that I just don't think that should be the case. Now, to Joel's credit, in years past, we've seen him do this. I liked his quote at Media Day saying basically, anytime that I'm on the team, you can't count us out that we have a chance to win, and he's right about that. I liked the way Joel Embiid acted during the Ben Simmons holdout, where I did think he took that personal. That was the first time we saw him grow into this NBA leading scorer. He took it personally, saying, I don't care who's here, who's not. I don't care if there's a plan to get a star player, which eventually happened with that James Harden trade. I'm here to take care of business, to lead this team, and I'm going to do everything possible to make sure that is the case. It feels like, from the outside looking in, that there isn't quite that same hunger from Joel Embiid at this point in time. It feels like the entire Sixers organization is too okay with making this a gap year. That I know the cap space plan, I know all the talk about clearing cap this summer, attacking stars in free agency, and building a true championship roster for there. But I just wholeheartedly disagree with that approach from the standpoint of we don't know how many years of Joel Embiid's prime that we're truly going to have. I personally look at these numbers, I look at these games played, and if you asked me a couple years ago, would he be playing 68 games in a season? I would think probably not. That overall he's been healthier than most would like to admit at this point. That far healthier than my expectations. And yes, he's had his knocks at the most inconvenient times when we talk about the big playoff moments, such as the meniscus issue against the Nets last year, the eye injury or face injury where he had to wear the mask in years prior. All these freak injuries, that's very frustrating that it happens. But it's not okay to just kind of chalk it up and wait for the next year. When you know that you have a superstar, an MVP of the league in the prime of his career, you owe it to him and the franchise to try and win year in and year out. I understand there's a lot of layers to this situation, but it feels like the Sixers as a whole are taking this approach of it not being that big of a deal. That there is this grand plan, we're going to wait this out. So what do I want to see from here? I want Joel Embiid to step up, say, I'm the coldest guy on the planet. I am this level of superstar, that I'm elevating this Sixers team to a championship contender. I don't care about Giannis and Dame. I don't care about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I don't care about Jimmy Butler and whatever skeleton crew that he assembles by the end of the season that somehow is a contender. I'm Joel Embiid. I'm one of the best two-way talents to ever play basketball, and I'm going to prove that to everyone. Because when he is playing his best, he is that guy. But we have to see that, and it has to fit with this Sixers organization. The biggest thing that I pointed to as what I want to see from growth from Joel Embiid is him taking his level of stardom to elevate his teammates in the same way. That is where Nikola Jokic has him beat at this point in time, where Nikola Jokic was able to take strides forward last year by elevating his teammates around him. Some of that is inherent with the play style. Jokic, obviously a superior passer and a guy who's very talented in other areas of the game like that. But some of that is just your understanding, your processing, and your reading of the game. That is where Joel needs to step. I think the Nick Nurse offense is the first stride towards improving in that category. But you're going to have to play through the growing pains. That is not going to be this smooth process of all of a sudden you drop Embiid in this new system and it works out. We're going off one of the most stagnant, just pass to Embiid watch offenses to all of a sudden adding this movement. There's going to need to be adjustments. So Joel Embiid should be more invested in taking a part in those adjustments and making sure he is there from start to finish. For now, I'm not panicking. I'm pumping the brakes a little bit. But if we flip on the game against the Milwaukee Bucks for that opening night matchup, and Joel Embiid looks winded and out of shape and hands on his knees and not in his full form, it's going to be frustrating. And that's going to set the tone for the entire season. I understand it's a long season. There's still plenty to go down. The James Harden trade, the biggest thing on people's mind of what the outcome of that will be. But it's Joel Embiid's turn to be the leader of this franchise, to be the superstar he's capable of being, and bringing the rest of the troops with him. I hope that begins with preseason game number 4. It's obviously not going to be in preseason game number 3. And then when the regular season starts, this has got to be Embiid's moment, Embiid's team from start to finish. Whether or not we will see that is to be determined, but that is what I'm going to have my eyes on from here. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. I appreciate you guys watching once again. As I mentioned, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell to make sure you're not missing out on any content on the channel, and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on Embiid's outlook from here. Am I overreacting? Am I being too hard on him? Am I concerned over nothing? Or is this a legitimate issue that he's not suiting up in preseason? Is it a bigger deal than I am making it out to be? Because I see that side of the argument as well. Either way, I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Make sure you're staying posted for the rest of the videos from here, and I will talk to you the next time right here on Sixers Digest.